Football fans, Gooners, welcome to another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Shotta, and as usual, my friend, my expert, my man with the insights, Blackburn George. Good morning, George.
Good
How are you
morning.
doing?
I'm all right.
Yes, I am taking the liberty of saying good morning, but I think it's afternoon in your part of the world. George,
It is.
what a difference 2 weeks make. It was sorrow and depression after our loss to Aston Villa, and then we went on to get kicked out of the Champions League by Bayern Munich. But within 3 days, George, my smiles are back with this defeat of Wolves and Aston Villa. More, and certainly yours, because we said that we're not out of the title race, unlike what many of our friends and fans have been saying. How say you, George?
Yeah, I think, last night was an exceptional performance. I thought the win at Wolves, although workmanlike, was a good away performance. But that's exactly what it was. It was an away performance.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all you can ask for, really, that we collected the points comfortably. We never looked in danger of losing at any point. But it wasn't that easy. However, yesterday was exceptional. That's what you want to see, isn't it?
Yes. But George, you know, when I thought we dominated in all categories, but when I looked at the stats yesterday, after the game, they had superior possession. They had, there it is. They had more touches, more passes, and yet we outshot them 27 shots to 7, 20 tackles versus their 13. It's a very strange sort of Arsenal performance if you get what I mean.
Yeah. See, where I differ from how most people see it is, they mostly see, as usual, because we win comfortably, it was a terrible performance by Chelsea and they're a crap team.
Yes.
But they just played Manchester City in the semi-final of the FA Cup.
Yes.
And they should have won. They played the better football. They could have won the Carling Cup final. I think they were marginally better than Liverpool, although they didn't. And I don't think they'd lost in the league for 8 games.
That's what the commentator said.
They're a much improved team and capable of playing well. Now, just because a team doesn't play well against you doesn't mean they're crap. It could also mean that you've played exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Chelsea are that bad. They're lacking experience, and
yes,
the confidence is probably fragile because of that and because of how the season went early on. But they're not a bad team. We just played unbelievably well, and we were so creative. Some of the one-touch football and the imagination around the box, the back heels and reverse
Cruyff turns, the Cruyff turn. Well, I don't call it quite a Cruyff turn.
Yeah, I mean, they were out of this world, some of the play, and probably deserving of more goals than 5, which again wouldn't mean that Chelsea were crap. It just meant that we had an exceptionally good day. And we're a very good team when we play like that. I mean, it speaks for itself. But Martin Odegaard, people will take this as a criticism or a slight, but Martin Odegaard is reaching Mesut Ozil levels in some parts of his game.
Mm.
Now, on top of that, he reaches levels that Mesut Ozil could never dream of in his closing down and his work rate.
Right.
So he's really an exceptional player.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's not. He has a game like that, and people will hail him like world class, and he probably is verging on it. But let's
Yes.
forget, sometimes it can go missing. Uh, and we see this all the time. Thomas Partey last night had a decent game.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, our fans are saying, oh, imagine what it would have been like if he'd have been fit all season. And well, it wasn't that good, actually. It was just all right. And they seem to
Yes.
forget how good Jorginho's been. And they're taking it as read that when we play
Tottenham.
Spurs,
Yes.
that Thomas Partey will start. Well, I don't think it is taken as read. I still think there's a good chance Jorginho will start. But we see it all the time, don't we? A team has a good result, and all of a sudden everything's brilliant. And we've forgotten, as you say, how we played against Aston Villa. And let's be honest, it was pretty crap.
Yes. Well, you know, George, in thinking about that, I think Chelsea, I don't know what it is, but they did not have a game plan for controlling Martin Odegaard.
Well, I
Martin
don't think you
Odegaard.
can have a game plan to control a player when they play like that. You know,
Well,
we've seen it before. We've seen it with Cesc Fabregas, Mesut Ozil, Santi Cazorla. Everybody knew how good they were.
mm-hmm.
Everybody knows how good Phil Foden is.
Yes.
Everybody knows how good Kevin De Bruyne is. How do you control them? If they have a good game, they have a good game. And there is no tactics other than putting 3 players on them that will stop them. And if you put 3 players on them, the rest of the games open up for everybody else and they walk through them like a knife through butter. So sometimes it's too easy to say, oh, they've allowed Martin Odegaard to play. How do you stop him when he's in that form?
That's a good point, though. But what I was reflecting on is that Aston Villa had a game plan for him, if you recall, and I don't know if I'm certain that Pochettino, you know, Pochettino is no dunce. He must have had a game plan for him, but whatever they had, it didn't work. I mean, he had
Yes,
89
but what
touches.
I'm saying is, it's not necessarily that it didn't work because they didn't execute their game plan properly. It might just be that it didn't work because he had a good day.
Yes, he certainly did. George, I mean, 12 assists. And it could have been more.
12 assists.
Not 12 assists. What it is again? 12.
No,
I have the stat here. I have the stat here, George. Don't kill me here. Um,
8 chances created.
8 chances created rather than 12 chances created. Not that,
Yeah, that was Mesut Ozil
12
against
goals.
Sunderland.
I misspoke. 8 chances created. Mesut Ozil still leads that with 12 chances created. And when they look at the top 10, by the way, George, in the Premier League in the modern era, Ozil was on that list 3 times. Our good friend Bicep posted that graphic, which is amazing. You know, but as you say, Odegaard is the man who leads the press, energetic. I posted at the end, I think he should have been substituted and kept fresh for Tottenham. What is your thoughts on that? That was my tweet at the end.
Possibly, but I think the substitutes he made were good.
Yes.
I think who he played are players that are going to be important before the end of the season, and he wants to keep them sharp and in form and happy.
Yeah.
So I have no complaints about that. I mean, obviously, if you could have give Odegaard a little bit of a rest, fine, but he didn't, and I have no problem with that.
Well, Odegaard is the consensus man of the match, and deservedly so.
Absolutely.
But George, what about Kai Havertz? 4 shots, 4 on target, 4 aerials, 1 compared to everybody else, and he made 2 key passes. George, why were we so wrong about Kai Havertz? The waste of 60 million pounds, all of that, and the people who are on the Arteta bandwagon. When I say bandwagon, the people who are overly pro Arteta are crowing. But you and I did admit weeks ago that we were initially wrong in our assessment. What is making Kai Havertz so hot today?
Well, first of all, I don't accept that we were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
First half of the season, it wasn't good from him. Playing in left midfield as a replacement from Xhaka, which he was bought to do,
yes,
didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work. I'm not having it. I'm not having this hindsight view that, oh, everybody was wrong. It wasn't working. It didn't work. And he changed it. And he changed it not through some stroke of genius. He changed it because Jesus got injured.
True.
Right?
Yes.
And he didn't want to play a player who had agreed a contract to pay £150,000 a week, head in the keep, right? Yeah. He didn't want to play him, so he played Havertz.
Yeah.
Now, in this system, with our 2 wingers being the playmakers, with Odegaard chipping in, but primarily the attacks coming from them, the false 9 position that Havertz plays has worked a treat, an absolute treat. It does win duels, it does win headers, it does make good runs, he's doing everything well, and it's absolutely fantastic for him and for the team. But do not tell me that that was the plan.
You're absolutely right on that, George.
And all of a sudden, everybody's talking like, oh, it was an act of genius buying it. No, at Christmas, we were screaming out that they needed to buy a striker. Everybody wanted Ivan fucking Toney or a striker, a similar striker, because we didn't fucking have one.
And now, after Aston Villa, they were crying for Isaac.
Yeah,
from Newcastle. I think you were also.
And now, all of a sudden, with hindsight, that's forgotten.
Yes.
Well, I've not forgotten it. We were playing fucking crap getting towards Christmas. We were losing. We lost the lead in the league. And everybody was saying Havertz was playing shit. It was a waste of money. It wasn't working. And it wasn't. And this hindsight is fucking pathetic. But you have to accept that now he's playing well. He suits that role. It's marvellous. But I'll tell you what, I bet we buy a striker in summer.
Yes, because
he's not going to all of a sudden go, oh, problem solved. We don't need a striker now. We've got Havertz and Jesus and Eddie. No, he's going to go again and he's going to buy a fucking striker. And I hope it is Isaac.
Yes, well, you know, that guy is talented on the ball. He's a talented. He might be a little slight, but he's deadly. But you know, I don't think Newcastle is gonna give him up. George, they have enough money to keep him. I think, you know, that's just
No, I've said that. I'd like to buy us to get him, but how do you get him out of there? They've got more money than God. They don't have to sell players.
Exactly.
The only reason they might have to sell is to meet the financial fair play obligations. Yeah. And I think it's far more likely that they sell Bruno Grimaldi's or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Than they sell
Almiron, you mean?
No.
Sell Almiron or Bruno?
Bruno
Guimaraes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the way, that big lump there with the English name, he's been injured for them. It has been a big loss. A Brazilian fellow. What? Anyway. He doesn't matter to us because he's not the type of player.
Joe Linden.
Joe, yeah. He's been out. You know, that has been a big loss to them. That's why they're not dominating midfield. And he was bought as a striker, by the way, George.
Yeah. It was an act of genius by Eddie
Eddie Howe.
Howe. No,
Yes.
he fucking dropped on it. You know, and we're playing Kiwo at left back. He was bought as a centre back.
Yes.
And you can hear, oh, it was successful playing him there. But why are we playing him there? Because the guy we bought to play at left back, he doesn't trust.
Precisely, Zinchenko. And you know, George, that's the second thing well, not second, maybe
Ben
third
White.
or fourth.
Ben
Third
White.
or fourth thing I wanted to
Ben
talk to
White's
you about.
done really well. I think he's one of our best players, most consistent players, and he's a fabulous left back. Right back.
Right back.
Obvious right back. However, let's not pretend we bought him as a fucking centre back.
Yes. Well, we play 4 centre backs in the back. And you know, George, to get back to that point, he played Tommy. And evidently, after having Keyword their last game, even against Wolves, he made 2 bad mistakes which could have cost us goals. He said, "No, I'm not. You're not trustworthy."
Right. And let's not forget, Tommy Asu was bought to play right back, not left back.
Yes.
So we've got players playing all over the place, playing really, really well, which is huge credit to Mikel Arteta's coaching skills.
Yes.
And his ability. Massive credit. That's a fucking phenomenal job he's done there to put these players in and get them playing to the standard, in a position that we didn't think was natural to them. Massive, huge, great credit. But let's not pretend it was the fucking plan. And yes, I think he does buy players because they're versatile. So it's not out of position.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The fact that he can play that position probably came into his thinking when he bought them. So again, massive credit for that you buy players that can cover you in 2 or 3 different positions. But again, it's the way that fans think that this is a great plan. It wasn't a plan to buy Jesus for £50 million and have him sitting on the bench. It wasn't a plan to buy Zinchenko for £40 million and have him sitting on the bench. So let's not rewrite history like our fans love to do. That one result and all of a sudden everything's perfect and it was always the plan. Well, it wasn't always the plan. But on the other side, let's give Mikel Arteta huge credit for the fact that he's bought players not absolutely perfect for the position they're playing now, and he's got them playing phenomenal football.
And 5-0, you can't argue with that, and we could have scored a few more if we were on target. But, if wishes were horses, or beggars would ride. George, let's go back to the striker conundrum. And you did touch on it in your most recent comment. But Gabriel Jesus is not going to start against Spurs, is he? I mean, it's clear, and the experiment that he did against Wolves again with Gabriel Jesus starting and as a number 9, and Havertz as the a left central midfielder. That's gone out of the window, don't you think, George, for the rest of the season?
Absolutely, it's gone out the window. And those were the positions that they were bought to play. So
what's the future? What's the future of Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal? I mean, he's still on a contract.
Well, I think if it was up to me, which it isn't, but I would sell him and I would sell Eddie and I'd go out and buy a top-class striker. It's not going to please Siebes, that is it? Same we would sell Eddie.
But, George, but you know that has always been an issue since I started supporting Arsenal. Top strikers just don't sit on the shelf in the supermarket, and people don't release them. You probably pick them up when they are young, and build them like we did with Van Persie. Picked him up from his is Rotterdam, I think he was at, and we made him into a striker. Many of us saw his ability, but many others said we should. He couldn't do it, and then he went and scored 40 goals in the one season, and hike off to Manchester United. You see what I mean? It's not that easy, but hey, we have the money now, George.
Yes, we have the money, and we'll have the money because we get a good bit of money for those two. Although I don't
Yes.
think we'll get the money back for Jesus that we paid for him. I mean,
Yes, I think.
his goal return, it's really, really poor. He doesn't look like scoring, but he's never in the box to score. So I don't suppose he will score. I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't fucking score from, playing in midfield. I mean, I wouldn't score anyway if you from right in
yeah.
front of the goal. But what I'm saying is, he doesn't look like he's ever going to score. I mean, he does some
Well,
fabulous.
George, yesterday he got a ball. I'm sorry to interrupt you. He got a ball in the box and tripped over himself. And I was like, Jesus, this is a reflection of how bad things are. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, he'll like beat two or three people and then pass the ball to nobody. It's
Yeah.
frustrating because it's all that's missing from his game, really. But when you're the number 9, it's a big bit of the all, isn't it?
Yes. Uh, Ben White, George, goal scorer, extraordinaire.
Yeah, one good goal and one absolute fluke. But
Yes, a lob. He loved it,
no,
George, with the backs, with
it was a, that
backspin
was
and into the net.
it was a cross. But if it had gone where he wanted it to go, there was two players ready to head it in.
Yes.
But the fact that it went straight in, good for him. He's playing well though. He's a good player, and
Yes.
they all played
You,
well yesterday.
but George, and this brings me to he and Saka dominated that right side. And George I've seen Cucurella play. I saw him when he was at Brighton. I saw him when Chelsea decided to spend some money. I think they spent like £40 million on him. But he looked like Bambi on ice yesterday, George. And Saka and the overlapping White did quite a number on that side.
Yeah, but it's something they do regularly. Uh, Odegaard sometimes joins in and they play the same tactics. Uh, but there's a lot of things that are working on a good day that you can wax lyrical about. It's the question now is, can we keep it up for another 4 games, and will that be enough to win us the league? Will Manchester City slip up somewhere along the line? But we've given ourselves a chance now, haven't we? 4 points clear. They've got 2 games in hand, but they've got to win those games.
Yes.
And one draw from them, it's the reverse position of last season, where they were basically an extra point in front of us because of the goal difference.
Yes.
Well, we're now an extra point in front of them because of our goal difference, which is phenomenal, by the way. And again, when you look back in history, facts are facts. It's the biggest goal difference we've ever had. And I've always said before, the mark of how good the team is the goal difference. Not the goal scored, not the goal conceded, the goal difference. Well, this is our best ever goal difference.
It is.
So you have to say this is a phenomenally good team. And we're competing against probably the best team, most dominant team the Premier League has ever seen in Manchester City. So there's got to be some credit along the way. And I don't know what else we could do, really. I mean, mistakes have been made. We've lost money selling players we've given them away when we should have been selling them. We've paid players off. We've bought players that haven't worked. We've spent a lot of money on players that didn't work. However, we are where we are. And right now, with this team, those stats tell you that we are a very, very good team. one of the best teams that we've had, certainly in the last 10 years, and maybe going back even longer than that.
And George, if we fall short, which I am not hope, which I am definitely not predicting, but if we fall short, we should be proud of this team because there have been, as you said, in Christmas we were running out of steam. We went to Abu Dhabi, is it Abu Dhabi, somewhere over there, got our mojo back, came back and went on a run that took us to the top of the tables. We have had our setbacks in the Champions League, had our setbacks, along the way. And look at us, we're back there, 4 points ahead. And people like, as you kind of implied today, the minute we have a setback, they blame Arteta all for it. And that was what that is what concerned me. You and I conversed, and I said, I didn't see the Champions League game, but all I saw was anti-Arteta posts, and I was like, "Come on, guys!" Your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, but you can't legislate for that. I mean, you get people make a ridiculous comment like that, and it gets highlighted and retweeted and liked, and it looks like there's a lot of people saying it, but it's not that many really. It's just that it's so ridiculous that people highlight it, and it looks like it's a comment. Surely there can't be anybody really, maybe 1 or 2% that are still saying Arteta out. I can't accept that people are that stupid that they're still asking for that at this stage. When we're seeing what we're seeing, where we are, when you consider who we're competing against, anybody saying that now, I could understand that when we were 8th back-to-back twice and it was like watching paint dry playing football, I could understand that. I still didn't say it myself, but I could definitely understand why people were saying it. Yeah. But I cannot for the life of me understand it now.
Yes, and I think that, he pulled them up after Aston Villa. You have to give him credit for that. George, talking about goal difference, this is a point that I wanted to make, to throw at you. Raya did not do anything wrong yesterday. Everything they threw at him, the shots they weren't targeted, he collected them, and most of the time he collected them cleanly. The guy has 14, from my recollection, I might be wrong, 14 clean sheets, and yet he gets no respect. We have our own friends saying that he is virtually useless. Come on, George, tell me something that I don't know.
Well, he has a deficiency in the fact that he's not particularly tall.
Yes.
But that's it. So his wingspan is less than a player, a keeper that's 5'6", 5'7". Okay.
Like a Martinez, yeah.
Yeah, fine. But he is still a good player. He's still a good shot stopper if it's within range of him. His decision making for me is good. He does collect the ball, and his distribution is excellent. And I think it's plain to see why we bought him and why, he plays and Ramsdale doesn't. He's a better keeper.
I recall watching the game against Wolves, George. You remember how people...
Sorry, Shotta, can I just add something? Isn't it typical, though? We've got clean sheets and people have favourites like Gabriel and Saliba. Yes. So they'll get the credit and he'll get nothing.
Yes, that's my point. He gets absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he gets no credit because they don't want to accept that Arteta again was right, and he's a good keeper, and he's added to the team exactly what he was bought to add.
And George, what added to it is every week I go to whoscore.com. You know that I have that as, in fact, I haven't referred to their ratings, but I refer to some of their player stats, by the way. And it's like he can never come out of the the 6 point something category. And the 14, he's good. Clean sheets, he's gonna get the golden gloves by any stretch of the imagination this season. Come on, guys. That's why I love, and I hope, and I know you do too, George. I love going at going at the facts, not so much the emotions, because that is what the little swindlers on social media do. They play on our emotions, so we pile in, and then they get a lot of popularity. No, the guy is the guy is, as you said, George, quite honestly, is exactly what we wanted. I mean, for example, George, let me just give you an example. Last meeting against Wolves, he came out for a cross that in a game before he had come out for, and the ball, he palmed the ball in the goal, I think. But he was in a perfect position to retrieve it. And you said, this is what I wanted to make, that is what he was coached to do. He comes out into the 6-yard box and position himself for Eve to retrieve that cross. Come on, guys. Isn't the evidence pretty clear that he is technically a well-trained goalkeeper, at least? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and what gets me is that when he takes up a position and a goal, maybe the ball goes over his head and into the goal, people assume that he was out of position. Well, I don't. I assume he's exactly where he's intended to be, because that is what normally would benefit the team more than standing on your line.
Exactly. Like what's his name? Like Leno.
It's like you can shoot from 40 yards out, and 99 times out of 100, you miss the goal. Once it'll get a deflection and go in, and people will say, we should take more long shots. Well, no, that's not how it works. Just because something goes wrong or something goes right doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it should be done. I think he's been excellent.
Yeah, I think that, he deserves some credit. And I think that you, in particular, deserve some credit for pointing out that he's exactly what Arteta wanted, Well, we are approaching the end. That's why the like and subscribe banner, George. I don't have some faithful fans who always like us, and some faithful ones who also subscribe. But we urge you to do that. It makes us doing this worthwhile. But George, I think, as you say, the rebound, and the game was beyond anything we could have hoped for. But don't try to tell us that everything went to plan, because Arteta learned from his experience and the mistakes going forward, and that's all you can ask from him. I think that is perhaps the note that we should end on. Any final thoughts, George?
Yeah, people should remember that you can arrive at your destination, but that doesn't mean you didn't take some wrong turns along the way.
My wife will tell you all about that. Even with the GPS. Thank you, George. Thank you for everything. Yes, we're definitely going to have to do the podcast after Spurs. That's going to be at their place, George. It should be a home thing, although they are so susceptible to the long ball. You spoke about that. But I don't know. We can play them that game as well. So it should be interesting, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Looking forward
to it. See you next week then. Bye-bye.
Bye, George.